Hi, I'm Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Gemini for June 2018. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog, and if you'd love to learn astrology for your self-development or for your professional use, then check out my Astrology Apprenticeship program that will start enrollment again in June 1st. So what's going on in the month of June? We have the eclipse season beginning already. Okay, we have 2 eclipse seasons a year, and eclipse seasons are times when sudden and major trajectory changes, emotional, dramatic culminations, endings, completions, accomplishments, radical new beginnings, new golden doors flying open, possibilities are all more likely at eclipse time. So we often see major changes, major shifts, major activity, major notable events during the eclipse season. And so June starts that. The eclipses don't officially start till July, but we do often feel those eclipses or manifestations from them 4 to 6 weeks or even more before the actual eclipse. So you might have seen in May some of these things starting to come through. But since there are 3 eclipses in this cycle, I'm going to take my June, July, and August reports to focus on one of them so that you can see where each of those eclipses will hit in the Gemini chart. So the first one is going to be July 12th. Again, you might feel it in June. It's a partial solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Cancer. The second one is July 27th. It's a total lunar eclipse at 4 degrees of Aquarius. And then the last one is August 11th, and that's the partial solar eclipse at 18 degrees of Leo. Okay, so before we get into the things that we're working with for this month, I want to talk about birthdays because many of you will be having your birthday. So happy birthday to you if it's your birthday. And I'm excited for you to have your special time. So birthdays are an amazing time for planting the seeds to create the life, the future that you want. So you have 10 birthday wishes, you say them out loud, you feel them as if they're coming true, you write them down. To get more details about how to maximize your birthday wishes, do a search for Annie Making Wishes Come True on YouTube or in an internet search, and you'll find my video on the topic that will help you to further use these. So happy birthday. So I wanted to just make sure that we mentioned that and honored and acknowledged that. Okay, so we've got the eclipses that we're working with. We're going to talk about where Gemini might see this first eclipse occur. But we also have to pay attention to the fact that Mars is going to be going into retrograde. We've been talking about this for a while. So the Mars retrograde transit, even though it's only 2 months from June 26th through August 26th, the shadow period that preceded it, where things start to energetically kick up the manifestations of the regular retrograde, started May 11th. And then the post-retrograde transit goes from August 26th through October 11th. So this is a long transit with a lot of different manifestations. So you can see more about that in my Mars retrograde blog and my Mars retrograde video. So the blog's at anniehelpsyou.com. Click on astrology and then do a search for Mars. Also, the video has more information, so you can search for Annie Botticelli Mars retrograde. But what we need to know as it relates to these eclipses is that energies from the past are going to be present in the new opportunities that the eclipses may bring. Okay, so there are new things with a wink to the past. Okay, also, many people will find their ambitions wane during this transit. So we'll talk about in the general transit time how to navigate that and what days to pull things through. If you do have to pull some things through, we'll talk about that. But be looking out for, as the things that I mentioned may manifest, something with an eye to the past, or something as a short-term bridge that comes in, that you do it for a little while and then it brings you to the next place. So it's a part of what you're doing, but it could be a short-term component, okay, due to the retrograde energy. So I'm calling the theme of the month for Geminis, your financial revolution. And that's because all of you will be experiencing this solar eclipse, the one at 20 degrees of Cancer, the one that is on July 12th, but you may feel in June, likely to feel in June, has to do with how you see money, how you see material things, how you experience them. It could mean, quite simply, a new income generation, a new income source, new way of making money. It could be more financial stability, it could be more financial sustainability, and it could be more independence. Okay, so something coming in new with your finances can happen, new streams of income, etc. It could be that you see things in a different way. You have an enlightenment about your finances. There are a lot of different ways to have more money. One of them is to make more money or to somehow manifest more money, but there are many other ways. Things like budgeting differently, spending less, needing less, living more simply, stretching your money, all are things that could cause you to work less. Some people might be in a situation where they decide they want to have more things and more money, so they're going to work more. And there could be some of you that are going through this wonderful paradigm shift where this whole idea of having to work more to make more money is starting to go out the window. So alternative ways of looking at money, alternative currencies, things like that. Different things involving material, the material realms could be coming in. So I like a book called The 4-Hour Work Week for some of you who are trying to change how you make money and who are willing to part with the idea that working more is the only way that you can make more money, because there are other ways to do it. And that might be one of the things that come in here for you. This is a revolution. Now, this same house that rules money and material things like luxury items, there could be a new luxury item that comes to you, a boat, a car, something like that. If you have to purchase one of those things, try to lean towards the beginning of the month. Like the first couple of days of the month if you can. There's another opportunity around the new moon, around the 13th for things like that, but it is getting a little close to the retrograde, so you really have to feel your way through, and there are rules for making purchases close to Mars retrograde. You have to make sure you can afford the luxury item, even if your circumstances shift. You have to, if you're getting a smoking hot deal, you don't want to buy high during a time close to Mars retrograde. So if you're getting a very good deal, that could be a possibility, because other people's energies are starting to shift as well, and they might be getting rid of things that have a great value at a low cost. So that might be how that comes in. So besides the material realm and luxury items, sustainability and earth environmental consciousness might come into play. So starting a garden, starting any kind of sustainable living project, rainwater harvesting, living more in sync with the earth and the rhythms might be how this solar eclipse can come in for you. And these things, again, may be ideas you had in the past, but finally you're doing something about them. It's a very important time to follow your personal flow, because some people's energies ramp up during Mars retrograde. They're in the minority. Usually, most people are going to have their energies toned down. Okay, so you have to follow your flow. If you're pushing and something's not happening and you're trying to force it, then it might be time to pull back. Okay, so just very much, that's the best way to navigate around Mars retrograde, and give yourself permission to take a break. It's one of the most important things about Mars retrograde, is if you're feeling lazy, like not doing anything, then don't think there's something wrong with you. It's probably just the transit manifesting, and it's time to take a break. So we'll talk about recreation and recreation, and this permission to chill, and being the spider, these are all themes of this period of time. So I'm going to go into more of those details now, as well as some specific dates I love, specific dates to look out for, and other energetic occurrences this month to be aware of. So I'm going to go into all that now. So I'm calling the theme of June 2018 for all signs, the magical act of releasing attachment, with a sub-theme or sub-themes of recreation and recreation. This abundance of air energy this month is going to bring a lot of restlessness, this need to move, variety seeking, the urge to communicate and connect will be very strong. And there will be many opportunities for this as well. So trips, travel, near and far, sparkling conversations, chances to connect with people online and in person, a lot of busyness. People often notice when the sun is in Gemini and at this time of year, we've got a lot of busyness. You know, you'll see that things are ramped up. You're here, you're there, you're moving around. There's lots of things that you're trying to pull together. And also interests and things can be coming up and could be all over the board. The urge to move and express will be increased from this energy, but for many people, the desire for movement will be towards recreation rather than productivity. And this is compliments of the impending Mars retrograde transit. We've been talking about this for a long time. I've been prepping you for this. And of course, you can look at my blog, Your Guide to Mars Retrograde, and you can look at my video on the topic. You can just put in Annie Botticelli Mars Retrograde, and you'll pull up my other resources to go deeper into this. But for the most part, for most people, ambitions start to wane. Okay, so the key theme that occurs so much in Mars retrograde is frustration. But it doesn't have to be that way. That only happens if you're trying to go at your usual pace. In that transit, that's not wanting you to do that. So if you take cues from what's happening and you stop trying to force things, like dropping your agenda, this is one of the reasons why I'm calling this, the theme this month, the magical act of releasing attachment. If you drop your agendas, then you can flow more. If you give yourself permission to chill, then the odds of frustration will be much less because you're not trying to push up against this wall of energy that's pushing backwards. So there are some people, however, that have the opposite effect when Mars is in retrograde. Mars rules movement, and some people, and how you use your energy, it rules the assertiveness, you know, that get up and go, your oomph. So if you were born with Mars retrograde in your natal chart, you might have the opposite effect when Mars goes into retrograde. You might be what some people might call lazy or laid back or not ambitious most of the time. But then something crazy happens, maybe you haven't known what it was until now, then Mars retrograde comes and you get lit up while everybody else is going the other way. So that's why I always say above everything, you have to honor your own personal flow and your intuition when you're listening to horoscopes, because there are always caveats to the general things that we share through horoscopes. So in any case, I always like to give you the heads up, because if you notice yourself getting what you describe as lazy, and then you're trying to give yourself a hard time about it, you can make this month and this transit, which runs from the end of June to the end of August, but really it started May 11th when the shadow period started, and it goes through the beginning of October. This is a long time. So if you understand this is going on, it's more likely that you can give yourself permission to relax. And if you give yourself permission to relax, pure genius can come to you when you're in that relaxed state. The way I like to describe the magic that can happen with this energy is with a typical story. I know myself, I've heard many situations where, let's say a couple is trying to have a baby and they're having trouble getting pregnant, and there's so much stress and there's pressure and they're putting it on and they're worried, and all of this energy is going towards this certain outcome. Then when they make the decision to adopt, sometimes they get pregnant. And the doctors chalk it up as the stress was released from the venture, right? So this is the energy that I want you to remember during this time, because a massive amount of magic, a massive amount of inspiration can come from that quiet time, like the Shavasana at the end of a yoga session. That quiet little short time of integration, of rest, integrates all of the work done prior. And very often when Mars is in retrograde, work that you've done before comes to you. So this energy of being like a spider that's going to be a theme that continues for a while, where you've done work, now you're letting everything come to you, is a good one to follow. Now, if you do have some things that you have to push through, and you don't want to wait until December when we're done with Mars retrograde, then Mercury retrograde, then Venus retrograde, then there are some points here in June where you could do that. And my favorite days are right in the beginning of the month. But I'll go into more details about that. But if you do have some things that you have to push through and you feel that they're, intuitively it's time to do it, then you might be able to take advantage of that energy. Okay, so I really love this month for vacations because this desire to rest and slack makes an increase in the possibility that you'll enjoy the vacation and you'll leave your worries and work behind. So if you are a traveler or you're planning a trip or you just like to read about travel stuff, you can check out my website, Astrology Kissed Travel Bliss, and I do monthly astrology travel reports so that you can understand some highlights as far as it relates to travel, and there are also fun blogs and inspiration for travel. There's a new moon on June 13th, and this is another increase in this opportunity for travel, adventures near and far, connecting with siblings, cousins, and other relatives. If you have to make a last-minute purchase of a communication device, if you know that coming soon your car or your phone or something is due to get, if you're due to get a new one, this time around, the beginning of the month or around this new moon of the 13th might be a good time to squeeze these things in, because Mars rules metal, and well, it's one of the, of course it's complicated, but things that are made of metal are under the rule of Mars. So buying machinery, utilizing machinery, and of course everything has metal in it, all of our devices, the energy is better for it when we're further away from the retrograde. So if you can help it, sometimes you might not be able to help it, in which case don't worry, just go with the flow. But if you know it's coming, you might want to take advantage of this this time in the middle of the month. So increasing your recreation time is a great goal. If you're going to have any goals during this time, it would be goals to have more fun and goals to relax and goals to take vacations and even goals to study, but in a laid back, leisurely way. This is a time that can greatly favor education, but especially in flexible programs that allow you to go at your own pace, so that if you turn out to lose some ambitions, that you're not penalized. If you're interested in education that feels more like a hobby rather than a stressful obligation, then it's very well indicated during this Mars retrograde, because we could see that as part of a focus on recreation. You might notice a slowdown in work, finances, romance, etc. But like I said, there is an amazing chance for you to reap rewards from the past. So things may slow down in some senses, but things from the past could come to fruition now without you even doing anything, and it might seem quite magical. If you have to do some work-related things, it's better to focus on clients from the past, ideas from the past, things like that, if at all possible. These retrogrades tend to make things get called into question. So things that were set or intended may drastically change form during this time or become irrelevant or uninteresting. So just notice the cycle, and just because something isn't, kind of goes away from your energy field at this time, it doesn't mean it's forever. I know I personally have Aries rising, and Mars rules Aries, so I notice that I'm very much affected by this transit. Everybody's affected by it, but people with Aries and Scorpio placements, strong Aries and Scorpio placements, may notice it more because Mars rules Aries and co-rules Scorpio. But I've noticed that I just love this energy because it helps you to relax. And whenever this happens now, I plan my rests for this time. But if you didn't know that this were coming, you might think, wow, what is happening to me? I'm like this. So I feel like when Mars retrograde, like, wow, I'm never going to be ambitious again. That's so weird. And then as soon as Mars goes direct, I'm back to my normal ambitious self. So it's just interesting to watch your own personal cycles with this. And as I mentioned before, you might have the opposite occur, and notice that too. Learning astrology and using astrology is one big experiment, and the more you learn about what's going on and then you pay attention to your personal flow with that, the more you learn about the art and the science. Okay, so many people are going to be questioning many things in life, but there will be a special focus for the job, profession, life path, because of the time that Mars is going to spend getting back into Capricorn. And since it spends most of the time retrograde in Aquarius, this strong focus on reconsidering or considering for the future, defining or redefining projects or relationships involving nonprofits, humanitarian efforts, technology, and other futuristic innovations, groups, things having to do with groups and teams and friends and friendships and acquaintances, social circles, and social media are all within this Mars and Aquarius energy. You might notice a lot of push and pull between home and work, home and family, mother and father, because we have a notable amount of oppositions between the Cancer and Capricorn energy. So this can bring a lot of overstimulation between home and family and work and your place out in the world. Overstimulation doesn't necessarily mean bad or good. It's just that there are opposing forces that are both demanding equal and extra focus, which can make you feel torn between these competing interests. But we do also have some great aspects with Uranus that can bring amazing insights and breakthroughs or happy surprises. So there are many times in this month where beautiful aspects are coupled with challenging ones. So good news and challenges could present simultaneously. You might see that going on. Okay, so the energy of this Cancer eclipse, we talked about where it would hit for you personally in your chart, but the general energy that everyone has this increased chance of experiencing is having to do with housing, home, and other family opportunities will likely be a dominating theme. There's something that a dermatologist said to me recently that I always wind up applying these random things to astrology, you know. So she said that there's an increase in skin cancer risk for people who have light-colored eyes, that there's something genetic about that relationship. Okay, so that doesn't mean that all people who have light-colored eyes are going to get skin cancer, and it doesn't mean that all people who don't have light-colored eyes are not. But this increase in probability is how I always frame astrology. There's an increase in probability of the things that these transits tend to bring. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to experience these things that are common. It just means there's an increase in probability. You know, the odds are more likely, like on a day when the meteorologist says, rain is 90% today. Sometimes it doesn't rain, you know, but there's that increased chance. And that's what I want you to understand about the nature of these transits and the nature of these potentials. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of other dates to highlight this month. And if you want more details about dates and transits of note, then definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Sign up for my free email newsletter. You can also sign up at cozybysweetstarlight.com, which is where I also have written horoscopes, cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you sign up at either of those places for my free newsletter, I write a monthly write-up with more details about these general transits in a written version a month ahead than I give in the video. Okay, so it supplements what we're going to do here. If you have to do anything in June, important, money, love, you know, beauty choices, anything that you have to do, the creative projects, anything important. I love the first several days of the month. We've got beautiful Venus and Jupiter trine, and then Venus trines Neptune. So that's my favorite time of the month, besides the middle of the month, the 13th, with that new moon in Gemini. We've got a little bit of challenging energy after that, like the 5th through the 7th. Logic bumping up against intuition and some challenges there. Definitely take a moment to center yourself before walking, driving, biking, etc. And try to resist the urge to text while biking or text while walking or text while driving, because it just, this energy increases the odds of accidents. You want to be paying attention more. There's another sweet spot here in the middle of the month where I told you the new moon on the 13th. And then there's a nice aspect between Mercury and Uranus, but at the same time, there's a challenging one with Venus and Uranus. And some other challenges there in the middle of the month. We've got another sweet spot, June 19th through the 20th, when Mercury makes a trine to Jupiter. And then we have Mars going retrograde on the 26th. When a planet goes retrograde, there's a lot of awkwardness. So just look out for awkwardness around that time. Then there's the full moon in Capricorn on June 27th, and this will bring completion, fruition, accomplishment, or drama into the realms of work, career, father figures, and your place out in the world. So those are the things that are most on my mind for this month. Definitely check out my websites, AnnieHelpsYou.com, if you're interested in learning astrology as a profession or just for your self-development. If you'd like to be a coach, I have a coach training program. I have an astrology apprenticeship program. I also have a course called Creating Successful Online Business, where I teach you how to create an online presence and funnel it into your services that will help you to live the life that you want and not be geographically bound. If you want written horoscopes that are focusing on different areas than the videos that I make, then go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you would like to get information about astrology travel reports that I write for each month, then go to astrologykissedtravelbliss.com. And definitely check out my husband's website, iamhelios.com, IAMHELIOS.com, for wonderful astrology and tarot readings. He also has some really cool free offerings on his site that bring sound vibrations that you can download that help to soften the energies of the current transits. So that's something really cool he's doing. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.